upstairs and downstairs. And for Quintero, or use your legs to keep him more balanced and look to catch him as he switches from the right-handed stance to the southpaw stance.
Adrien Broner, Cincinnati-based, born and raised. Great Ezra Charles came from Cincinnati, of course, the Cincinnati Cobra.
One of the great fighters of all time.
Remember, most importantly, check yourself at all times, okay? Touch them up. Good luck.
Friday Night Fights was here many years ago in Sundance Square, right in the heart of the city, named after the Sundance Kid, member of Butch Cassidy's Wild Bunch, and we could have a wild go of it in our main event. See what Brian Vera will offer up against the unbeaten Craig McEwen. That's still to come. For now, round 1 of 8 between Quintero and Broner.
Couple maybe ominous elements that should be mentioned about Quintero. First of all, you go back 2 fights, he was off 1 year. Also, he took this fight on 4 days' notice. And Broner, well, you look at these two in the pros and you say, well, pretty close matchup, Joe, professional experience. But where it's not close is amateur experience. Broner, as we said in the Stay in the Fight, 300 amateur fights. He's very experienced. He's very calm. I'm saying right now that's going to give him a big edge against Quintero. Let's find out.
This is already the 4th fight of 2009 for Broner. Quintero just lunged forward with a right hand that was off the mark, and Broner came back at him.
But you see already right away that Broner is, you know, a little smitten with himself. A little smitten with his speed. Very fast guy. You see that amateur background. Likes to put those hands, likes to show off how quick he is. Put those hands together real fast, but some of them almost too quick. He needs to settle down a little bit, and I'm sure Bernard Hopkins, the tremendous world champion in the studio with us tonight, will probably be looking at the same thing already. That Broner, yeah, he has that God-given talent of quick hands, but needs to place him a little bit better, settle himself a little bit to get more effective.
Bernard will be giving us his post-fight analysis of Pacquiao-Hatton, try to explain the circumstances surrounding Hatton just being utterly run over that night. And we have Freddie Roach here with us live tonight, as he is the trainer of the unbeaten Craig McEwen, who we will see later on in the main event.
Well, early on, Broner's trying to do a little imitation of Floyd Mayweather Jr. Tucking that chin into the left shoulder, dropping that left hand sometimes, tucking that chin into the left shoulder, and rolling that right shoulder back, looking to get a right hand out of Quintero, make him miss, you know, block it with the shoulder, and then come back with a right hand counter. You can see that's one of the moves in the repertoire of Broner. And again, you see those quick hands of Broner, but so far not matching up with at least the suggestion of power when you look at his record, 8-0 with 6 knockouts.
Broner passed 2 times that Quintero lunged forward. We tried to catch him with that left hook as he came in.
Both these fighters, Joe, great records, glossy records, but built for the most part with soft opposition.
7-0-1 versus 8-0, coming to the end of round number 1 on Friday Night Fights. The gray better than ever. And in part by Verizon Wireless, America's largest mobile-to-mobile calling family. You can grab a dog ringside here at Sundance Square. Beautiful night here in the Metroplex. Outdoor fight night in downtown Fort Worth. Joe and Teddy with you, BK and the champ, Bernard Hopkins, in studio tonight. Broner outlanded Quintero 18-16. But was able to be more efficient. He landed 42% of his total punches. He threw 43. Quintero threw 66. So Quintero just landed 23%.
Well, if Quintero's going to win this fight, it's not going to be on the outside. Quicker man, you didn't need more than 1 round to see. That's Broner. As we felt in the Stay in the Fight lead-up, that would be the case. But Quintero maybe a little bit more physical, and he hopes a little bit more rugged. But he's going to have to get into those close dimensions to use those assets. And so far, he hasn't done that enough. And see, now he's in close. But now the key is, what does he do when he's in close? He moved his hands a little bit, but he let himself go back out. To me, he's got to stay in there.
And trades with Broner that time. And Broner looked to get the best of it with a more solid left hand on that exchange. But Quintero, at least here, committed in the early goings of round 2 to trying to make something happen on the inside. Let's see if he can get back there.
Well, I've learned 2 things early on in this round. One, that Broner, he understands he has to get close, and he can get close. But I also learned that when he gets close, he has to go to the body, because Broner knows how to move his head. So you're not going to catch him so easy upstairs. Downstairs, that's not moving. The body is stationary. Bang that drum a little bit, and then go up and touch the cymbals with your Quintero. And you might even get a nice little sound.
Had a right hand to the body, a couple of short left hands up top, and you see the punch track numbers there, the body shots we were able to show you.
Yeah, the body attack, I would think, should be part of the fight plan if Quintero's going to have a good night.
Right now, Broner has landed 9 body punches to Quintero's 15.
And as we said, both fighters have been in soft. So a step up for both guys tonight. And I think we've learned a couple of things here already. One is that Quintero will try to get in. You know, he gets a little sloppy and he's staying in the head too much, so he's missing. He needs to go downstairs. The other is, Broner is fast. But that power, that 8-0 with 6 knockouts, no, I think that is more of an indication of the kind of opponents he was fighting rather than pure power.
That's the manufactured kind there. He's coming off a TKO win. He just fought on April 4th. But as we told you, limited competition. This is the second fight for Broner in Texas.
You know, Broner has to learn to do something that, again, the champion in the studio learned how to do.
What's that?
Fernando Hopkins. To settle down and use that speed a little bit more effectively. Don't just throw it out there and show it off. You know, slow it down. Learn how to place it a little bit. Make it become a little effective.
Quintero just outworked him here. Quintero threw 90. Round number 3 between 2 unbeatens here, who are yet to face tough competition in their fledgling careers. Fernando Quintero and Adrien Broner. Let's look at the punch track numbers from round number 2, and that's where Quintero really stepped up his work rate. Broner threw 46 punches. Quintero threw 93. He was 28 of 93 punches thrown in that last round.
Broner has been active since turning pro 1 year ago. This is his 10th fight since that pro debut, as I said, 1 year ago. So his people doing a good job keeping him in that ring where he can get calmer, more comfortable, and, of course, more confident. Something to look for right here. Watch how wide the legs get of Broner. Take a peek at that. I mean, when he's standing, he really
There's a good example
he
right there.
spreads those feet out real wide. Now he's digging in for his offense while he's doing that. That's what he's trying to do, grab that ground, get stronger. But what he does is he keeps himself stationary. He's basically guaranteeing to his opponent he ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, it's a defensive flaw, right?
Yeah, he's right in front of you when he spreads those feet out wide. And right now, Quintero, as we talk about it, taking advantage. That means that your opponent can't use his legs. He can't slide out. He can't slide to the side. You know where to find him. So if I'm Quintero and I see those legs go wide or get fat, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going in there. I'm setting up camp.
Yep.
Because he's going to be there.
That wide base is harder to move and get out of the way. I guess it's a difference between trying to how fluid would an easel be compared to a pogo stick.
Exactly. And there's no jumping around. The pogo stick, you know, I get confused when guys jump around and you got to follow them up in the air. Right now, it's easy for Quintero. All he has to do is step in behind that jab, don't smother himself, and go to work. Just like he's doing right now, because again, Broner with those wide feet does not, he's got quick hands, but not quick downstairs. Quick upstairs, but his feet are slow because they're too wide. Again, something that The fighter has to notice, but the corner needs to notice that too, to relay that information to the fighter. To be the difference from winning and losing. Right now, the old-fashioned way, nothing fancy here, but Quintero just outworking Broner.
Tying up on the inside now.
Not a lot of effective punches from either guy, Joe. But again, the workload, the punch numbers, yeah, Quintero.
End of 3.
Just look right here. See how wide they are? He can't move. They're too wide apart. He can't move anywhere. And played right there, you see, with those wide legs. Well, Quintero, all he has to do is go in there and go to work. He knows that the man's not going to disappear on him. You know, he's not going to suddenly jump out of position. He's going to be there.
Round 4 of our opening bout of the night, scheduled for 8. Between these junior lightweights, Adrien Broner and Fernando Quintero, both unbeaten to start their career, both taking slow steps against limited competition, but now facing off against each other. Broner is just 19 years old. He's in the black with the gold trim from Cincinnati. Had a lot of amateur fights, but yet to fully engage with the plan for the win here tonight against Quintero.
You know, you brought up a good point, Joe. Broner turned pro at 18. He's only 19 years old right now, young, but guys can turn pro young like that, and they do when they have a lot of amateur experience like he has. But the maturity, you know, the part of being just mentally, emotionally mature. Quintero at 25 years of age, you could see the difference. That's carrying him right now. Just that he's more emotionally, mentally mature. He's more of a man with a kid. He's a little bit more physical, and you can see Broner has not kind of formed himself in that maturity department, in that physical department yet. And that's what Quintero's winning this fight on, is just being a little bit more sure of himself, a little bit more solid in those dimensions.
Let me ask you this question, Teddy, because in other sports, there's general blanket theories and statements you can make about whether or not youth should be in the sport at the highest level. I mean, in the NFL, you got to be 3 years removed from high school because the physical maturity takes the filling out into a man's body. Yet in other sports that are more skill-oriented, say tennis or basketball, gymnastics, you can participate at the highest level even at a young age because your skill can overcome certain things. In boxing, we see a mix many times. We've had youngsters before that are teenage phenoms in boxing come on, yet we've had other experiences where you say you can tell that there's a lack of maturity and physical presence.
That's a good follow-up on that point, Joe. And I think the answer to that is, with the boxers, 75% of this game is mental. So it's going to be, that lack of maturity will show itself in that ring possibly early on. And I think the matchmaking is so important. See, that you put in the young boxers with the right guys, at least for their first 5-6 fights, just to get a little bit of that maturity department taken care of.
Friday Night Fights outdoors, round 5 between Fernando Quintero and Adrien Broner, and our punch track is brought to you by EA Sports Fight Night round 4 coming out on June 30th, and you can see the average punches landed the first 4 rounds. Quintero with an 18-10 advantage. He threw 100 punches in round 3, 93 in round 2, so pure quantity brings up the percentage there. He's a 91-54 connect overall advantage over Broner.
So I'm glad you brought up the punch numbers, because that's what we're strictly seeing. We're seeing a lot of punches thrown, but not a lot of effective punches thrown. Not a lot landed. And again, you saw the reckless, undeveloped speed of Broner to begin this round. You know, he came out there punching away, maybe the more accurate way to really put it from a boxing standpoint. He came out flailing away. Nothing effective. And matter of fact, Quintero did something smart. He stepped out of range and tried to time Broner, because timing can beat speed. And that's exactly what he did. He stepped out of range, and he kind of left Broner shadowboxing a little.
Now, speaking of timing and speed, let's bring in the future Hall of Famer and our ESPN boxing analyst, Bernard Hopkins. Good evening, Bernard.
Good evening, good evening.
Quintero and Broner going at it here in round number 5. Teddy brought up the point of effective punches. Do you find more and more, Bernard, as you see some of these youngsters in the gym, that that's a concept that many times is lost on them?
Yes, I heard that earlier. And Broner, he came out throwing a lot of punches, really wasted energy, and, just really flash, but nothing pinpoint. And Quintero, he's a little bit veteran. He was just waiting. And if you notice, he started giving a little bit of movement, getting on his toes a little bit. And Broner really is uncomfortable because his legs are so far apart. And Teddy mentioned it earlier, he's waiting with his foot in the bucket, we call it in Philadelphia, keeping the right foot in the bucket, either trying to get away when the punch comes or trying to counter. And he never gives himself not only the wrong balance, but he don't get a chance to get a good shot in that's going to hurt the other guy. So he's having problems now. I think he's losing the fight. I agree with Teddy on that, is that he's being out hustled and out smart. And the veteran is Quintero, who's giving him really a boxing lesson.
Bernard, do you think that sometimes, we know how important amateur background is, and you didn't have the benefit of that. You had to learn on the job. But, you get a lot of amateur fights, and sometimes they don't learn to settle down. They just throw punches in the amateurs. Then they got to learn all over again in pro. Is that a case with Broner with all those amateur fights? He hasn't learned how to throw at the right time, how to settle down?
Yes, Teddy.
I like Bernard with the Philly boxing argo of foot in the bucket. More to come. Fort Worth, Sundance Square. It's part of the Chisholm Trail back in the day. The old cattle drive. And now home to Friday night fights as we get ready for round number 6 in the corner of Adrien Broner, the young prospect, 9 fights in his last 12 months. Cincinnati-based fighter, now 2 fights in a row here in Texas.
Well, we know both these fighters know how to throw a lot of punches, and Broner quick punches. I hope that the judges know how to score them.
In that last round, Fernando Quintero, who's in the black with the red trim, was 32 of 94 punches thrown. 32 connects, the highest so far of the fight, and he earned that round on Teddy's scorecard, which reads 48-47 for Quintero.
The sweet science, that's what a great writer one time coined this business. And again, you can even the playing field. That's why people love to watch boxing, that a guy who has less can still be the guy that night. He can find a way to even everything up. Even though he was born with less talent, maybe he has less money behind him, maybe he has a less of all of those type benefits that some people get in life, that for one night people can watch in that ring and the underdog can make everything right. He can find a way to be the better guy. And right now that's what Quintero is trying to do. Broner probably gifted with more physical ability, quicker hands, but Quintero has a battle plan. He's using his mind, the strongest muscle that we have, and he's finding a way to negate that advantage, that pure physical advantage of Broner. And he's putting pressure on Broner, not letting him use his talent. You see that, Joe? He just, you press a guy, yeah, he had 300 amateur fights, but he's not giving him room to shine. Because talent needs room, needs space. When you get in close quarters, the more physical guy, he can use that ability. And that's what Quintero's trying to do. You know, he can get things down to a common place. Again, you see the quick hands of Broner, but nothing landing.
Missed with that left moments ago. Short right hand from Quintero.
See, what I was talking to Bernard about, this is where the transition from the amateurs, yeah, it's great to have all those amateur fights. It sounds good, you know, we can announce you as a great amateur and you're calm in the ring and all, but you have to make that transition from being in amateurs where you just throw a lot of punches to being in the pros where you got to make sure those punches count. And you can see Broner hasn't made that transition. Not yet.
Put your hands.
Quintero working on the inside while Broner just pushes down on the back of his head, then tries to scoot out of trouble out the left side of the door.
Broner, every once in a while, he has the ability to switch from the orthodox position to the southpaw. He doesn't start doing better. Look for him to switch to southpaw.
2 rounds to go. We'll see if he makes that switch. Of the night, Fernando Quintero and Adrien Broner. Quintero in the black with the red trim, and he's outlanded Broner 70-29 over the course of the last 3 rounds. Both men come into this fight tonight without a loss on the record. Quintero 7-0-1, Broner 8-0.
And one other thing, they both come in here, Joe, and that's both men coming here having never gone past the last round that they just went past. Never having gone past the 6th round, so both in uncharted waters. We'll see who handles it better. Now, one school of thought to our fans out there might be saying maybe they're making those little friendly wagers right now. Who's going to win these last couple rounds? One thought would be Broner would have the advantage. He had full time to prepare for this fight, and Quintero took it on short notice. But another school of thought is Quintero has been a more aggressive guy, and that pressure maybe has broken down Broner a little bit. Maybe taking some of his confidence away a little bit.
Looping right hand did not hit flush from Quintero as Broner was going straight back into that corner.
You know, you mentioned to me in between rounds, Joe, and rightfully so, that, hey, this looks like a small ring. I was thinking the same thing early in the night. It is a small ring, and that would favor the guy who does not have the quickest hands, the guy who has to put pressure on, the guy who has to make sure that he gets inside and he keeps the ring small. That would favor Quintero.
You know what surprises me about that, Teddy? I know we're very much looking forward to our main event tonight between Brian Vera and Craig McEwen. McEwen is the undefeated fighter who is trained and managed by Freddie Roach and promoted by Golden Boy, who is the promoter here tonight. Vera is the local Texan who's a rugged, tough guy. Wouldn't the smaller ring actually favor Vera, not the promoter's fighter, McEwen?
Yeah, I think it would favor. Not only would it favor Vera, but it might elicit something out of McEwen that McEwen's people don't want. Because sometimes he gets a little hard-headed from what I'm told, and he fights too much. He doesn't box enough. And that might be his excuse. It might, you know, sort of convince him to do that. Good right hand there scored by Broner.
And they both opened up, and Broner got the best of it.
Yeah, if Broner was the puncher that his record would suggest he is, he would have probably put Quintero on the floor with that punch, and he didn't.
He's got his mouth wide open, and he gave Quintero time to kind of reset there moments ago, but that was a solid right hand in the final minute of this 7th round by Adrien Broner. Comes with a right hand again as Quintero comes forward.
We're seeing some good setups now by Broner, stepping out a little bit, inviting Quintero in, and then pulling a trap with the counter. Right hand right here landed not right on the chin, a little bit on the side of the chin, but again, you could see Broner's speed, but lack of power.
That was the best punch landed of the night by either man. Adrien Broner having perhaps his best round in that final round. And now coming out with more aggression is the 19-year-old from Cincy. He trails on Teddy's scorecard, 67-61. This is the 8th and final round. Remember, Fernando Quintero,
67-66.
Excuse me, 67-66. Remember, Quintero 7-0-1, Broner 8-0.
And, you know, we talked about it the last round, trying to give our fans, you know, that little edge if they want to make those friendly, very friendly bets coming down the stretch. And we mentioned again that Quintero took the fight on 4 days' notice. Broner had full time, and maybe the advantage of conditioning favored Broner a little bit in that last round.
See that Oxnard on the back of Quintero's trunks there. That's the same hometown as Fernando Vargas. In fact, he stars as Quintero at the La Colonia gym. Vargas uses his launching pad to his career.
Well, Broner, to me, the reason why he's won that last round is he's starting to use that most powerful muscle I talked about, that head muscle, the brain muscle, a little bit more instead of just the arm muscles of the quick hands. He's stepping out a little bit. He's starting to set up counters, catching Quintero coming in. You know, inviting him in a little bit with steps back and then making sure that he does that he gets the punch off as Quintero tries to walk in. And there you see for a minute, Broner turn into a southpaw. See, this is where obviously Quintero needs to be. And that's where Broner doesn't need to be, against the ropes.
It wasn't pretty on the inside, but it was somewhat effective from Quintero there.
And Quintero is breathing heavy with 45 seconds left to go.
Well, you said it very early on. He took the fight on just 4 days' notice, so it starts to show up at some point. And here in the final minute of the 8th round, it's arrived.
And again, you don't see those settled, intelligent punches yet from Broner. You just see him throwing a lot of fast punches, but late in the fight with Quintero not having had the benefit of full training, it seems to have at least worked for him. Looks like Quintero just might not have enough left in the gas tank.
This is an opportunity for Broner to really do something here and turn it on, but yet he's not fully engaged either. They go the full 8 to open up Friday night fights. Both men came in unbeaten. We will hear from the judges when we return to Fort Worth on Friday Night Fights. Mural here in Fort Worth. We invite you to swing away with ESPN for 2 nights of Major League Baseball action. 8 o'clock Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell, Tampa Bay and Boston. Then Monday Night Baseball, 7 Eastern, the Braves and the Mets. You can watch Major League Baseball on ESPN and ESPN 360. I watched those Rays take down the Yankees the other night there at the new Yankee Stadium, Teddy. Quite an impressive facility it is.
Yes, it is. But Alex Rodriguez is back in